Just like not everything is disappointment, this video is not gonna be disappointing as well, because as I have promised that we are gonna be doing the hairs, we are actually gonna be doing the hairs, and I'm gonna go into the object mode and duplicate the main mesh. The reason is I basically wanna extract the hairs from the different mesh so that I cannot actually destroy the original one, and I'm gonna be duplicating it. As you can see that I've duplicated it, and then I'm gonna go into the sculpt mode. And because we actually don't know the amount of resolution that we have in the tiger itself for the hairs, at least for the starting phase, we can actually decrease the voxel size and basically increase the voxel size so that we can decrease in terms of polygons. So this is the first thing that I did so that the file would be a little bit lighter. And now I am gonna go to my mesh filters, and then I'm going to deflate it a little bit. So mesh filter, you can see we are already at the inflate, so I'm just going to push it back just slightly, and you can see, I really hope that you can see, like let me, if I were to go into the random, you will be able to see that we have a mesh underneath. So this is the mesh that we are going to be using in order to make the hairs. I really hope that was pretty simple. So you can see the reference as well that I am pointing out, and I am going to be trying and creating some sort of similar hairs. Obviously the hairs are going to be stylized, so this is something that you need to took care of. I'm not like grooming the hairs, I am sculpting the hairs. So this is basically the reason why I am doing that. Also, one thing that you can see, wherever we have the black patches, we don't actually get the hairs. So the hairs that we are going to be sculpting as well are going to be behind the black patches that we have. So this is actually important. So that's basically what I'm going to be doing as well. And I have removed the face sets from the hair mesh because we don't actually need the face set in this. And now I am actually just doing the same thing. You can see wherever we have the black part, I am just removing the sculpt from there. Right now this is just the marking. You can say I'm not adding the volumes, but I am marking where I want the hairs and where I don't want the hair. So in order to actually push the hair out, I am using the inflate. You can use any of the brushes that you like to use, it is totally up to you. So it is just me marking where I want the hairs, so that should be important to understand. And once I know where I want the hairs, I'm just going to be pushing out the volumes in order to create the actual hair. So this is also some parts where I want the hairs. Even though I didn't end up sculpting the hairs in these areas, I literally have just removed these areas. So yeah, these are some of the things that I've changed. And I am also going to be adding the hairs in this particular area, even though I'm going to be removing this as well. So if you want to, you can like skip this particular part. Like I'm literally just marking where the hairs are, but I didn't edit this part out because I actually wanted to show you why I did this. I thought the hairs are gonna look nicer in these areas as well, but it just turned out that the hairs are just not gonna be, the hairs won't actually work in these areas, so I had to remove those. But I am still like sculpting the hairs. Basically this is not actual sculpt, but I am marking the parts where I want the hairs. As you can see, I'm just using the inflate and pushing the hairs out to mark where I actually want the hairs to be growing from. And once I am done with this marking, I am gonna be start adding the volumes as well, the similar volumes that you can see in the reference. And I think I've already started doing that, so you can see that I am just gonna look at the reference and push and pull things out in order to get something similar in terms of volume of the hairs. So that is something that I am doing right now. One thing that I'll add is, if you were to look at the reference, you can see that in the frontal part of these beard that he have, the hairs are actually long. But in my case, what I did, I basically have created a transition where from the front to back, the hairs are actually getting longer. So in the front, the hairs are going to be short, and in the back, the hairs are going to be long. And I'm only talking about the beard, by the way. So this is something that I did, and you'll actually see that in the video. So don't you worry if the things that I'm saying is not making sense. It is gonna start making sense in the future. So yep, that's gonna happen. But right now you can see that I'm basically just trying to add something similar sort of volumes, And again, pretty similar workflow, just like we've done with the sculpting of the face of the tiger. I am literally just blocking out the bigger shapes, and this is super important. You always start from the bigger shapes, and then you basically start to break down those bigger shapes into smaller ones. And this is basically how you would approach any sculpture. Yeah, now you can see just trying to figure out what the volume of the hairs are supposed to be. And from the front, I am going to be removing some of the volumes so that they would look a little bit more stylized. Right now, obviously, just adding the volumes, nothing else. No detailing, no fur kind of sculpting, no hair sculpting, just trying to block out the bigger shapes. And obviously adjusting where I want the hairs to come out, because I've already talked about it. Wherever we have the black patches, we don't want the hairs to be growing from that particular area. So I am just trying to like avoid those. But in the future, you're gonna see that I am just going to be blending the hairs with these as well, because I felt like without actually avoiding these particular areas, I want to be able to sculpt the hairs nicely. So I ended up just blending these with the black area as well, but it still looked pretty nice. So it was okay for me to do that. And now you can see that I'm still just working on the bigger shapes. This is obviously, I've already talked about the workflow, and for every sculpture, you are going to be using the same workflow. Okay, so now that I basically have said the thing that I am gonna do and the workflow, I actually wanted to make this video funny, and I've searched on ChatGPT to give me some jokes for my YouTube video so that I can basically just, add jokes in between. And ChatGPT's humor is literally worse. Like, it actually is worse than the guy who always get bullied, in the group of three friends. If you have a group of three friends or four friends, you always have a guy that always get bullied, right? So Chat GPT's humor is actually worse than that person, that particular guy. And I'm gonna tell you the jokes that Chat GPT is suggesting. So the first joke is, why doesn't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Like, what is this? But yeah, okay. I mean, it is actually kind of funny to just read the jokes that ChatGPT have suggested. So it is kind of funny in that way. The joke itself is not really that funny. I'll tell you that, but it is kind of funny to just talk about this stuff. But before I talk about, you can see that I'm basically making the front part a little bit flatter. So the idea is, again, I've actually said this before as well. The idea is the hairs in the front are going to be smaller, and as they are going to go back, they are going to get longer. So this is the reason that I'm doing this. And now let's just go to the second joke. So the second joke that ChatGPT have came up with is, how does a penguin build its house? I mean, it is already funny. So how does a penguin build its house? Igloos it together. You get it? You get it? I mean, Chat GPT is kinda, it igloos it together. I mean, the joke itself is okay. Okay, let's actually just read the third one. So, what do you call fake spaghetti? Right? What do you call an fake spaghetti? An impasta. Okay, so an impasta. Okay. I mean, if you think about it, if you are drunk, maybe you actually can find these jokes pretty funny. But I mean, I am finding these jokes funny right now for some reason. So the fourth one is, why did the scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in the field. Okay, it seems like that I am drunk right now, but trust me, this is actually kind of funny. I was wrong about ChatGPT. It does have some good humor. ChatGPT is not supposed to be get bullied. He deserves better. That's 100%. I am against bullying for everything, but especially for ChatGPT. The fifth one is, I told my wife she was drawing her eyebrow too high. She looked up surprised. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing right now, but before the next joke, you can see what I'm actually about to do. Actually, you cannot see. So I want to increase the resolution, but before I do that, I'm just going to cut out this part because we don't need this part, right? I mean, the hairs are not gonna be there anyway, so we are just going to be removing this part so that we can remesh and decrease some polygons. Okay, so as you can see that we have cut this part, and now we can actually just continue sculpting the hairs. And the reason that I am in the solid color mode is because basically the blender have crashed and I have to redo it. So this is basically the reason that we are over here. So the way we are going to be approaching the hairs are pretty simple, and I know it is kind of boring that we have to just move away from those chat GPT's jokes, but this is kind of important as well, right? I mean, that's why you are here. So we can actually look at the jokes a little bit later, but before we do that, let's just talk about the hairs. As you can see, the first thing that I am doing is just making the bigger patch of the hairs. So you can just say that this is a fur, and I am just making a bigger one right now. So the idea is I don't want small little furs on this because it is gonna get 3D printed and I want bigger details. So if I were to start with, smaller furs, and not just, let's just say not start with smaller furs, but if I were to sculpt some smaller furs, it would be harder for the 3D printer to capture those details, especially if you are using a filament printer instead of resin printer. So I actually wanted my model to have bigger details, and this is also the reason the hair strokes that you are seeing right now, they are pretty big. So yes, this is the reason, and also the way we are gonna be sculpting the hairs is pretty simple. If you have seen the reference, by the way, I don't have the reference on this screen because I am dumb, and the reference is on my second screen. You're gonna realize that this particular part is actually pretty straight, but I am not sculpting it straight because I also wanna do some stylization. But the thing is, I am doing the bigger strokes right now, and after I'm done with these bigger hair shapes, hair furs, or whatever you want to call them right now, like this clump of hairs, I am gonna be just creating some smaller hair clumps as well. So, first thing that I'm doing, as you can clearly see, is the bigger hair clumps. So the obviously the idea is we are gonna be making the bigger clumps first, and those clumps are just gonna go from start to end. As you can see, these clumps are starting from the origin, like from the hairs are supposed to grow, and they are going till the end. And after I'm done with this, I am just gonna be creating one more smaller clumps on top of these. So this is just going to be the process. And right now you can see that I'm not really using any special brushes or like the fur alpha. I am just sculpting these out because in the end I've told you that I don't want smaller clumps. I actually want bigger clumps so that when I 3D print these, even if I use a filament printer, I can basically capture these details. So this is the reason that I'm sculpting them pretty big. And yeah, this is basically what the process is. And now I can actually continue telling you the jokes that ChatGPT came up with. So yep. I think I've told you the four jokes, right? Or maybe the five. I think I've told you five. So let's actually just look at the sixth one. Okay, this is actually kind of weird, me just telling you the chat GPT jokes in the middle of the recording. But I am actually just doing something repetitive, and I don't think that I really need to explain anything. If you have any question regarding what I'm doing right now or any of these points, that you can actually just ask me. But right now, I am just making the bigger clumps, nothing really else. So let's just like look at the chat GPT jokes. So the sixth one is, what do you call a snowman with six-pack abs and abdominal snowman? Okay, I actually say this first. This was the worst one, I think. So I don't even know like what to say. This is literally the worst one for me up until now. So I'm just gonna go to the seventh one. Why did the tomato or tomato, however you wanna pronounce it, why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the salad dressing. Okay, this was actually good. This was good, but I obviously cannot use this in the YouTube video, in between. but I can definitely just pass time like I'm doing right now because I have no idea what to commentate. So the next one is, what do you call a fish that wears a crown? King Neptune? Okay, wait, I don't actually get this joke. What does it even mean? What do you call a fish that wears a crown? King Neptune. Is Neptune a fish? I have no idea what does that mean. I'm not even gonna like Google it or anything and embarrass myself a little bit more, but let's just go to the ninth one. So the ninth one is, why don't skeletons fight each other? Because they don't have the guts. Okay, that was actually good. That was good. So the next one is, this is the last one actually. ChatGPT only gave me 10 jokes, which is now, I think now that I'm thinking about it, it is kind of less. When I did write this prompt and ChatGPT came up with this joke, I thought these jokes are going to be pretty useless and I'm not going to be using them in the video, but here I am just using them in the video. So let's actually just read the last one, and then I am gonna like just silent myself because this is again pretty repetitive and there isn't anything for me to add to the commentary, so I'm just gonna like get silent so that you can just peacefully watch the whole video, and if you want to you can also increase the speed. So let's just read the last one. So the last one is, how do you organize a space party? You plan it. Okay, okay, that was also nice. That was also nice. And do you know what? ChatGPT is also giving a disclaimer at the end. It is saying that, remember, humor is subjective, so try to gauge the audience's response and adjust accordingly. I mean, ChatGPT is literally giving me advice that ChatGPT's humors might not be as good, so you are on your own. Just do what you do. Okay, so this is basically what the jokes that ChatGPT came up with. I am pretty sure if I were to click on regenerate, it could give me more jokes, but I think I'm just gonna go silent and I'm just gonna let you watch what I'm doing. And yeah, I'll just go. Wait, before I actually go, I wanna say something. The way that I'm sculpting these clumps are like I am sculpting a tree branch. So wherever you are seeing clumping, you're also gonna see that I am basically branching that out. So at the original, I cannot speak, at the origin of the clump, you can see that multiple clumps are coming out. So this is actually just me trying to see, like not see, but trying to sculpt the branching kind of thing. And I am basically just trying to make a different clump from the same origin. So this is basically what I'm doing. And just in case if you actually want to know what my thought process is, that's what I'm trying to do. As you can see that there are some smaller clumps that are coming from the same origin, and right now what I'm trying to do, I'm basically just trying to see if making them a little bit sharper is gonna work or not. It end up not working that nicely because on top of these I am going to be adding smaller clumps, so all of the polishing that I'm doing right now, it is just gonna get ruined anyway, so I don't think it is really that important. But you can see that I have smaller clumps, and by smaller I meant to say smaller in terms of radius. So I have smaller clumps, but they are still coming out from the same origin. So this is actually just me doing the branching, and this is basically what the idea is behind sculpting these. So yes, now that I've told you what the logic is in order to sculpt these clumps, now I'll basically just go silent and let you watch the video. And this is it for the video. And yep, I didn't really had anything to commentate on because everything was pretty repetitive and I've already shown, like not shown you, but talked about the workflow. So this is where I am gonna be going, and in the next video we are gonna be blending the hairs that we have just sculpted with the face itself so that it would be easier to 3D print, and it would be easier to look at the sculpt itself because hairs are supposed to be the part of skin, right? So it is gonna be better to just blend it with the skin. And yeah, this is basically what we are gonna do in the next video, so I'm gonna just see you there.